The SAT is coming up, and so is its scariest section, math. But don't worry, here are 5 of the most important problems you'll need to know for the SAT math section. So here's the first problem that we'll be doing in this video. We need to find the y-intercept of the equation 3x minus 4y equals -8. So normally you can find the x and y-intercept of a line of an equation by seeing where it crosses the x-axis or the y-axis. But in this case, we don't have this graphed, and honestly, I don't want to bother graphing this. So instead, we can use another important definition of a y-intercept. The y-intercept is what y is equal to when x is 0. So in other words, if we were to replace x with 0 in this equation, and we found out what y was equal to, then that would be the y-intercept. So whenever we have two things next to each other in algebra, but we don't have a sign in between, that means multiplication. So 3 times 0 is just 0. So this is going to just cancel out. And now all we have left is a one-step algebra problem. We have -4y equals -8. And that's important. Don't forget minus signs in algebra. Even though we've crossed this out, this minus sign is still attached to the 4y. So we need to isolate the variable. We need to get y by itself on this side of the equation. And the only thing in its way is this -4. Now, like I said before, there's no sign in between, so this is multiplication. So to get rid of the -4, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and divide both sides by -4. So the -4's cancel out. On the left side, we just have the letter y. And on the right side, we have 8 divided by 4, which is 2. And then we have 2 minus signs. 2 negatives make a positive. So the y-intercept of this equation is 2, because y is equal to 2 when x is 0. And if we needed to find the x-intercept, we would just plug in 0 for y and find out what x is equal to. So here's problem number 2, and this one is a word problem. You're going to be seeing a lot of these on the SAT. So this one says that a bird population of 100 birds grows by 8% each year. What will the size of the population be in 5 years? So we know that this population is starting out with 100 birds, and each year it grows by 8%. Now, if you were to see an explanation of how to solve this problem, it would probably have you use a formula. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of memorizing formulas. I feel like it's better to understand why the formula works that way. So I'm going to explain to you how to do this logically. Let's ignore the 5 years part, and let's just talk about this year. If we have 100 birds and then it grows by 8%, then how many birds do we have now? Well, 8% of 100 is 8 birds, because a percent is literally just a 1/100th. So 1% would be 1 bird, and so 8% is 8 birds. Or you could have done 100 times 0.08, and that would have given you 8% of 100. Now, how much does this population grow in 5 years? Well, you might think that, okay, well, it's going to grow by 8 birds each time, so let's just multiply it by 5. 8 times 5 is 40. But there's an important factor that we're missing here. After 1 year, we're going to add 8 birds to our population, so now it's going to have 108. But now for year 2, we need to increase it by 8% again. But this is 8% of 108. So it's actually going to be a little bit more than 8 this time. So to find out how many birds this is going to grow, we would have to do 108 times 0.08. And if we put this in our calculator, we get 8.64 birds. So we could just keep doing this 5 times, or we can use a formula. So let's write this as a formula. We're going to take our 100 birds and we're going to multiply it by our rate. But instead of 0.08, we're actually going to use 1.08. And the reason for this is because the 1 represents the birds that we had originally. They're not going away. We're going to keep our 100 birds, and we're adding 8% to that. So in total, it's like 108% of what we had before. And then instead of doing that 5 separate times, I'm just going to throw an exponent of 5 on here. An exponent is basically just multiplying something over and over. So instead of doing 5 different steps, let's just raise it to the 5th power. So using our calculator, we're going to do 1.08 to the power of 5. And that is going to give us 1.469. And now all that's left is to multiply this by 100, which is going to give us 146.9 birds. Now, obviously, you can't have a decimal number of birds. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to round this up to 147 because it was 0.9. So we round up. So our final answer is that there were 147 birds. And just as a sanity check, I think that makes sense because before we came up with 140. but we knew that it had to be a little bit more than that, so this answer makes sense. Okay, here's our third problem. For this one, we have a table here. This table shows the scores a math class received on an exam, and we have to find out what the median score was. So if you've learned about like statistics and things in your classes, then you've probably heard the words mean, median, and mode. So mean is like what you would think an average is. So the average of 4 and 6 is 5, for example. And then mode is the most common occurrence. So for example, the mode here would be A, because A happens the most. But the median is the grade or the number that comes exactly in the middle. Now, if we had a list of numbers, that would be much easier. Like if we had 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, then the median would be 4 because it's right in the middle. But in this case, we actually have a table with frequencies. But this would be much easier if we just took this table and turned it into a list. So remember that frequency is just how many times it happened. So in this class, 5 people got A's. So I'm just going to write A 5 times. Me when I'm taking the SAT math section. Then 3 people got B's. So I'm going to write B 3 times. And then 2 people got C's. 1 person got a D. And 4 people got F's. Yikes. So we have our list of grades now, and now we just need to figure out which one is in the middle. That will be the median. So the easiest way to do this, I think, would just be to cross off the left and right ones every time until we get to the middle. So cross these off, cross these off, cross these off, and so on. And if you keep doing this, then you'll end up right here with the letter B in the middle, which means that B is the median grade on this test, and that's our answer. Here's the next example problem. It says, what is the minimum value of the given function? And then we have a function there. It says g of x equals x squared plus 26. So the way that a function works is you basically just plug in numbers for x and then get something out for g of x or f of x or whatever letters here. So for example, if I wanted to plug in 2 for x, well then I would get 2 squared, which is 4, plus 26 is 30. So the value of the function would be 30. So the question is asking what is the minimum value, which is basically what is the smallest value that we can possibly get from this function. Well, normally there isn't really a minimum value because whatever number you put in, you can make it as small as you want or as big as you want. But in this case, there actually is a smallest value that we can get. We already know that this has to be 26. So really all that we're worried about is this right here. What is the smallest amount that this can be? Well, remember that whenever you square a number, it's going to become positive. Because like, let's say, for example, you did 3 squared. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. But if you did negative 3 squared, negative 3 times negative 3 is still positive 9. So when you square a number, you're never going to get a negative answer, unless we're talking about imaginary numbers, for example, but that's not what we're dealing with right now. So if x squared can never be negative, then the lowest that this can be is 0, because 0 squared, 0 times 0 is 0. But we can never have negative 1. So 0 is the smallest that x squared can be. But then we have to add this 0 to 26, because it's x squared plus 26. And 0 plus 26 is 26. So the lowest possible value that we can be getting from this function is 26. That's when x is equal to 0. If x is anything but 0, it's going to be more than 26. So 26 is the minimum value of this function. Okay, here's another problem, and this one is a little bit more complicated word problem. For this one, we're going to have to write our own algebra equation, which is really a really important skill to have for the SAT. So it says that a coffee shop owner makes $4 for each cup he sells, but he must pay $200 each day to rent the building. So we have to write an equation that represents the profit the shop makes in a day. So what's our important information? Well, it looks like he makes $4 per cup that he sells. And he's also going to have to pay $200 in rent. And this is going to be true no matter what. No matter how many cups he sells, he's going to have to pay $200. So there's not really any fancy formula for this of any kind. You're just going to have to think about it logically, kind of figure out how you would do this problem in your head, and then write that out as an equation. So because we're writing an equation to find out profit, I'm going to write a capital P. I'm just going to use P for profit. You could use whatever letter you want. But if it's a multiple choice problem, obviously you'll have to go with whatever choices they give you. So then this profit is going to be equal to something. So let's think through how we would do this. Let's say, for example, we sell 100 cups of coffee. If I wanted to find out how much money we made, then I would say, well, okay, so $4 per cup, so 4 times 100. 4 times 100 is 400, so we made $400. But then we have to pay $200 in rent. And when we pay money, that's subtracting from our profit. So I'm going to subtract $200 from the money we made. So 4 times 100 is $400 minus 200 is a total of $200 of profit. Now, the question wasn't asking us how much profit do we make when we sell 100 cups. But I showed you this because this is exactly how we're going to write an equation. The $4 per cup of coffee is never going to change. The $200 of rent is never going to change either. The only thing that's going to change is how many cups we sell, because that's not given to us in the problem. So I'm just going to replace this 100 with the letter C, C for cups. And basically the idea is that you can replace the letter C with however many cups of coffee you made. So let's say we only made 30 in our day. Well, then we would do 4 times 30, which is 120, minus 200, which is negative 80. So on that day, we would have lost $80. And this is basically the same thing as writing an equation with X and Y. So you could use those letters too, and then you could like graph it. But in this case, we have written the equation to represent profit. Profit is equal to 4 times the amount of cups we sold minus 200. So those were some of the most important topics that you'll need to know for the SAT math section. But honestly, the best way to study is to keep doing practice problems. And there's a lot that we weren't able to cover in this video. So if you want to keep studying, then this is the video that you'll want to watch next. If you have any questions about what we've gone over so far, just go ahead and leave a comment and I'll be sure to answer your question. Good luck on the SAT and happy studying, or not happy studying if you don't like studying, I guess. Well, studying.